Hi everybody, this is Carol at Savner Epoxy Designs. I'm going to do a couple things here. I'm going to do a flood coat on these and prepare them. We have Miss Vivian here with her angel wings, and I'm going to pour a top coat over this. I'm also going to pour a top coat over this, and if you can see on here, you'll see it. There's a bubble that is open, bubble here. These things can be fixed. It's, I have little tiny bubbles there. These things can be fixed easily, and I'm going to show you how to do that as well. These, we're going to do a top coat. Now, if you look at the front of these, you can see there's little tiny bubbles in there, and there's a lot of air that gets trapped within the flowers. I've dried them out myself, and then as they're going through the epoxy, sometimes you'll get some bubbles that get trapped. But I'm going to show you how to fix that. And the first thing that I did was I put a coat of tape on the back of these, just so that when I do the pour on top, it'll go down the sides. I'm going to make sure that we coat the whole thing, but I don't want to coat this part. So that's what we're going to do today. And if you see here, all I've done is I got a couple of these little silicone containers, and for pouring, and I just put them here and make myself a little like a little stand where it's not touching the edges, so it will just drip down, and it'll just collect in little globs at the bottom, and then you'll be able to take care of that easier. I try not to wipe up a lot of the time, and only because sometimes when you're wiping, it just makes a bigger mess. If you just let it dry, you can just peel it right off. So, but everybody has their preference. So first thing I'm going to do is get myself a pair of gloves. And of course, wear any safety equipment that you might have available to you. I do have a mask available that I'm going to put on as soon as I start the pour. So here's my handy dandy mask for all you safety inspectors. I'm going to put that on. It's a sight. And then what I'm going to do, I hope you can hear me okay. I'll try I don't know if that's going to work. I don't think you're going to be able to hear me. I might take one for the team. Okay, so let me get the this is what I'm using, this epoxy. And what I'm going to do is I need enough to cover all of these items. So I'm going to just guesstimate it, but that's just me. And I'm going to think maybe like 150 cc's for this, maybe 50 for this, and maybe 150, 150. So I'm going to say, I'm going to make like about 800 cc's. Whatever I have left over, I always have something on standby. For instance, one of these little containers here, and I make a bunch of them. But it's nice because I'll just pour in there, and sometimes I'll even go ahead and do multiple pours and end up with two-tone, things like that. So just so that you know, don't ever spill it down the trash, because you can definitely use it for something at some point. Just have something ready that you can pour it. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to pour in my A, and I'm going to pour 200, only because it's not that big of a container. I probably should have poured with the other one, but so there's 200 of A, and then you'll get B, So you'll see here. So then I'm going to put the same amount, 200 of B. So now that gives me a total equivalent of 400 mLs in this container. Now, they do say on the instructions to pour A in one container and B in another, and then pour them both at the same time into one. I haven't had any problem doing it this way. So, to each his own. You do what the manufacturer says, but this is just to show you what I'm doing. And all I'm doing is I'm going to keep mixing this. I try to stay in one direction, but sometimes I do get a little crazy and go the other way. But if you look right here, you see how it's milky looking. That's because they're not mixed. And once they are fully mixed, you're not going to have those lines in there. You may have more bubbles, but that's where this bowl of water comes in. If you do have a microwave or something that you can, heat your epoxy up in, of course, I wouldn't advise using it for your food. But, you do what you got to do. Now, this right here, I'm just showing you, I'm scraping along the edge, and I'm going to go to the very bottom. I'm scraping across the very bottom just to make sure that I'm getting all of that epoxy and getting it thoroughly mixed. Because if you don't do this and make sure that it's thoroughly mixed, you will end up with, as soon as I could find it, it's kind of like, it kind of will glob up. And here it is. So if you see this, if you see the bottom, it's not flat. Whoop, trying to see the best way I angle. So it's kind of like a big glob that just sat there. It didn't level out or anything. So that's what can happen. It'll be like, and I'm just learning myself pretty much. I'm trying to, like a sponge, take in as much as I can. So I'll share with you what I think I know. And if you find out anything different, please feel free to, drop me a message and let me know, because that would be awesome. So what I'm doing is I have this mixed, and if you can take a look, you'll see it's not quite as milky, but I still have strands in there that I can see. Now this water here is hot water, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to just set this little cup inside, and I'm just going to mix it in the same direction, just trying to warm this up, because we're up in the Poconos and it's always 25 degrees. So this is just something that I have to do. Now in the summer, I'm not going to have to do this because the epoxy will be warmer. But, in the winter, this is what we have to do. So I'll just keep mixing this. Usually this gets mixed. I've been told it should be mixed for at least 3 minutes. I just keep an eyeball on it and watch the inside to make sure that all those strands are gone. And then I'll just let this sit for a minute or two, let the bubbles come up to the top. And then once they do, and you can see them rising, let's see, I think you can. So they're rising up to the top. And I can tell that it's mixed pretty well. So now I'm just going to let it sit and let it do its thing. And hopefully we can get these bubbles to rise. That's one of the reasons why I'm putting it in hot water, is because it thins out the epoxy and then allows it to be thin enough for those bubbles to make it through to rise up to the top. So I'm going to put a little bit of glitter And I think I'm going to use this gray. It's like a gray, not gray, it's like an iridescent. And I'm just going to put just a little smidge of it in there. And this is what will give it that little sparkle. So I have these little doodads. And I'm just going to go like that. And I'm just going to, just one. And I'm going to take a look and see how that looks first. Put that over there. And just gently mix. I just want it to have that little bit of a sparkle so that when the sun hits it or anything like that, you can see that little bit of a shine to it. I just think it gives it a nice look. So you can see this is all pretty good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour these. The first one I'm going to do is I'm going to pour Miss Vivian. And I will tell you in my the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pour a couple of these feathers. And I'm going to try to put like maybe one to the side. I'm not quite sure yet. And the reason I say is she had Indian heritage. So I just wanted to honor that in some way. So I'm just trying to figure out the best way to do that. So now I'm going to take this out of the water. Now these cups can be a little tricky, so be careful. I spilled the whole thing of this when I was working on the chessboards with my husband. It didn't go well, so but he was very gracious. But as you can see, I have everything is covered in this plastic. And then I have another one over here. So it's just to protect so that it's less of a nightmare when I have to clean up. And I'd like to use this desk again someday, maybe. So here I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just pour right onto Miss Vivian here. So that you can see. Let me move these. They're heavy. So I'm going to take the alcohol. And I'm going to just give it a mist from up above. Just give it a mist. And what that's going to do is that's going to, when I pour this, it is going to go ahead and get into all of those little corners without causing a ton of bubbles. So let me see this little thing. And I picked these little doodads up. They're kind of cool because if you use a popsicle stick, sometimes I'm always afraid I'm going to like scratch it or something, So these, all you have to do is give it a little push and it will self-level, so it's going to go ahead and make itself go to all the nooks and crannies. But it's best to try to get it at least into those areas, and then it will level off. If that makes sense. Sorry. So this is all I'm doing is just going all around the edge. Now, one thing I do want to mention is it is really, really important, and I say this because I've done it, but any mistakes I'm making, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to let you know, and hopefully you'll learn and not have to make as many as I did and still am. But when, oh my goodness, wait, I want to make sure give me 1 second, I'm losing my spot here. It's like I can't chew gum and talk. I just don't want to mess this up because this is for a dear friend of mine, for his mom passed away, and I just want to make sure that it looks beautiful for him. It's my son-in-law's grandma. She's a wonderful woman. And it's very sad. So I'm going to take like just scoops of this, and behind here there's like, it's not going to make it all the way around. So I'm just kind of scooching it into the edges. Okay, so now what I was about to tell you, and I got sidetracked, was if you're ever like, just checking them out, whatever, and you go ahead and say you start to peel back the edge just to take a look to see maybe, I don't know, how deep it is. When you do that, you're actually letting air get in there, because right when I had this poured the first time, it adhered. So, and that's what we want to do. We don't want to peel it away, because then when you do your second pour, it's not going to level out correctly. It's going to go underneath, and you're going to get little like circles and patterns underneath. Otherwise, it would be just nice and solid. So now this one, I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it over on the side. All this has to do is dry. I already have the wings on for Miss Vivian. And one thing I didn't do, which I meant to do, is after I get it poured, I'm going to do another spritz like that. That's going to pop those little tiny bubbles that are floating up to the top. Okay, and I'm just going to put that over here on one of my drying areas. And then we're going to work on this. So because I have this big hole here anyway, I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do with this. And I'm doing it because I've never had a large hole like that. I've seen them work on these in the past, but I just am not sure how this is going to go. So I just want to give it a whirl. So this is, all I'm going to do is just pour it in there and kind of like give it that little bit of a force. And I can see that the circle is still there a little bit, but it actually has blended in, because see, it kind of goes right around the inside. And I think that maybe is what does it. And then I'm just going to take this and I can pour. I'm just going to pour, we'll say about that much. And you will at times have this happen, so just keep an eye out for them. I use these cups over and over again, and sometimes you might end up with a little dab of another color, so you just have to be really careful. I'm trying to get better at it, and I think I am. Now I'm just going to take this like I did with the other one, and I'm going to go right along the edge. I don't want to get real sloppy with this and have it going up the sides and all that, because if it dries like that, it may have like drip marks and things. So I'm trying to be really careful just to kind of push this over into the corners. And I hope I'm not in your way. I'm like, just realized. And I'm just going right up to the edge and letting it catch, just so that I have a nice even coat. I can always come back and add a little more if I need to, but I want to make sure that I'm not wasting the epoxy either, because we don't want this to be like a paperweight, so to speak. This is supposed to be something that he can have maybe on his dresser, just even just for like trinkets and things like that, things that maybe he would like to hold on to or whatever, and he can put them right in this tray. But he did, as I'm sure you can read, he wrote her a beautiful message. We can all just hope. So I'm hoping that he loves this, which I'm sure he will. He's a very sweet man. So we're going to go like that. And I just want to make sure that it's all covered. So I'm going from here, just making sure it's all to the edges. Because once it dries, if I end up with something there, then it's over. There's nothing I can do. Now, the reason the bubble was where it was that I showed you is because this mold is actually upside down. So the mold would normally be Like I placed this side down when I did the mold, and that's how the air got trapped underneath. Okay, so you see there's a little one right here. I'm just going to try to get in there a little bit. There's that one, the big bubble. So now once I do this, and I go ahead and I'm going to get the alcohol again, and I'm going to give it a good spritz. And that's going to level it out and take all the little bubbles away. And you can see there's little tiny bubbles that are still trapped within there. And I think, let me just make sure. No, they're in this. Yeah, see, they were in the first pour. So I'm not going to be able to get some of them out. I probably missed the last spray because you have to really keep an eye on them. And if I was doing more than one thing, I could have missed that last spray. So you can see there's little tiny bubbles that are still in there, which I don't think he's going to mind. But just so you know, you have to really give it a good spritz each time. And you can see how it's, when it starts to like cure a little bit, see how it starts to kind of, some spots you'll be missing a little bit of epoxy, and you might have to move it around. So just keep an eye on them. I'm putting that one over on the side as well. And now we're going to pour these. Now these are always messy, but this was my first set of these. They took a lot of epoxy, but they are beautiful. And I'm excited to see how they end up coming out when they're complete. But I do have more flowers. I actually dried my own flowers, so I have more flowers. I'm going to make a new set, another one of these. But I'm, going to, this one I'm using just as like a sample practice kind of thing. Now, I'm going to use my gloves for this. All I'm doing is, I'll start with this one over here first. So I'm going to pour this directly on. I don't want to go crazy where I have all this left over. And then I'm going to just take my finger and I'm going to go like this. And I'm going to, like as if I'm just kind of giving it a little wipe down. And the reason why we used the tape was so that when this drips down over the sides, what's going to happen is it's going to get, the epoxy will catch underneath and the tape will stop it from making these huge drip marks that you have to chisel off. Not that I, ever did that or anything, but I'm just saying. Now, so I'm going to just add a little more over here to this side. And I just want it to pour down. And I don't want to make this to the point where I'm like, where it starts to like harden and I'm playing in this and it's thick and all that. I want it to, once I get it even, a full even coat all the way around, then I'm going to stop. And I'm going to make sure by looking in the light, I'm going to make sure that the whole thing is covered. And it looks like it is. And now I'll do the same on this one. So I'll pour it. Oop, I'm probably blocking you. I'm so sorry. So you can see I'm just scooping it over and going to the bottom. So, and it will drip, but all these drips will, at the bottom, if I don't go through with the towel or anything, then they'll just be dried there in like, clumps where I'm not stuck, where I've gone ahead and tried to like wipe it up as I was going along, and it caused a huge mess for me. And, you know, if you have any ideas, feel free to share, because, boy, what a nightmare that was. Because it just kept spreading and getting worse. Sometimes I'll even grab a little from the bottom. And now that does that. And I just want to make sure I have these corners and just take a look all the way around, make sure the whole thing looks covered. You might have to bend down and take a look that way. Okay, so now that looks pretty good. And I go through a lot of paper towels. So I just keep these here and try to wipe, because that's where everything kind of ends up getting really sticky. And boy, that's crazy. So I'm going to do the same thing. A little spritz all the way around. And now they're going to just sit. I'm not going to bother them. And they're going to just sit for the night. And we'll see how they turn out. Now, the good thing is we do have some epoxy here left over. So what I'm going to do is, I do have a couple of these little guys that I just purchased. And I think this would be enough epoxy for at least the frog. Let's see. So this is what we did. My husband did most of it. He was helping me. So what he did was he poured water in these and then dumped them into a measuring device just to see how much, and then he wrote on there how much. I created like a log so I can keep track of how much epoxy, so that this way if I do need to make, you know, a specific amount of, you know, specific items, I can just look and know how much epoxy I'll need total. So each one is marked, also logged. So this has 230 mLs. This takes 110. What do I have left in here? I have 150 mLs in here. So I can do one of two things. I think I'm going to do the turtle. Now, although the turtle has 230 cc's to fill it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little decoration in there. So I'm going to give it a little spritz with this. First, let me get my flowers here. So I have these little flowers, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these in and give our little turtle a cute little outfit. So let's see. Ooh, they are pretty. So I just buy these from Amazon. There's all different colors and different things. If you look through Amazon, there's a ton of different things that you can use. Okay, so. Ooh. Oh, that's pretty. Let's go. Let's go with the purple. Put these on this side. Okay. So I'm just going to take this, put it over here. Cut it. Gently take this out. And see, you have to be careful because they will stick to it. So that's just like to keep the moisture out. So I'm going to gently do this. And I have these right here, little tweezers. So now I'm going to decide on which flowers I want to use. And I think I want to put this one. Now, you have to remember, this is going to go upside down because we want the good side to be showing. So, it's going in upside down. Well, this is how I ruin my scissors. Okay, I'm good. It's all good. Okay, so I'm going to give this a little pour. First, I'm going to give it a spray. I want to get up inside the head of the turtle, because the turtle's head, a lot of times, will get bubbles in it. So I did that, and now I need to just pour a little bit in the bottom here. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take these and put these in so that she looks like she's got a little outfit on. I'm going to put that in upside down. I hope you can see, yeah. And I'm just going to gently guide this in. I don't want to go pushing real crazy because they will, like, you know, break apart. So you have to try to get some of the epoxy on it so that it will melt into the epoxy. You can see it's going down now. Okay, and then I get it right where I want it. I'm going to put that one right in the middle. And then I make sure that I have something to wipe. So I have that one there, and then let's go with, so it's a purple, and let's put a pink. So we'll put a pink one there, and a pink one up there. And the same thing, I'm just giving them a little gentle push to try to get the epoxy on them. Once the epoxy gets on them, you'll see they'll start to sink. Now, I'm putting in clear, which is what I planned on doing. I want the clear epoxy on the bottom so that it's going to cover these flowers and they're going to look vibrant on the other side. Without having, like, if I add color now on top of this, it would take away from the flowers. But you'll see that in the next step. So now I'm going to take these little purples, and you can just add them wherever you want to. Just make sure that you're, you know, putting them the right side down so that you get the best color. Okay, and then maybe, let's see. Ooh, that one got away from me. Put that one in there. And another one of them over here. Actually, this one I was looking for. This is when I get a little, you know. You know. Okay, so now they're just sinking in. Okay, so you can see, let me see if I can, you can see a little better maybe. Now, see that little flower up there? That little flower just wants to go up to the front, so she's going for a ride. She's going to have a hat on, I guess. And then I'm just going to move these around till I have them in the place that I want them. I'm finding the more and more that I'm making that a lot of times less is more. I do tend to, you know, put a little more, a little more, a little more. But I'm learning. So I'm just letting these get down. I don't want to get too aggressive with them because they will just break apart. And then you have all this, these flower petals like floating in limbo. So that looks good. I have this one little piece right here. I'm going to get that out of there. Okay, so that looks good. I have one little spot right there. I think I'm gonna use, let's see. Let me use one of these. Actually, let me use a little greenery. Didn't use the green. Okay, and I'm just gonna drop that right in. Actually, I like this side better. Okay, and all I'm doing here is just moving it around till I get it the way I want it to be. And remember, see, like this is here, I could take this and just move it down here because you're not going to see the ends or the back of it. So these right here, if you wanted to, so that, like, you know, if you were trying to save money making these things, you can definitely break these off and add them wherever you need them in here without, you know, using the whole thing. It's just so hard to pick these up. Okay, so like for instance, this one. So I can just either take the scissors or whichever. I don't like that spray. So if I go like this, maybe like that. So I could just take this one. Whoops. Better use this. Okay, I want to make sure I have the right side. So it's this the right color green, and I'm just going to drop that in and move it around so that you can see some of the greenery coming from behind. And I just want to put a little piece right here in this corner and fill that over. So let me see. This one right here looks good. So we'll put this one right here. I'm just going to push that down, and I want to make sure I'm like finagling it around to make sure that you can see it. So I'm going to move it so that you're able to see it better, the color. Okay. And might as well use this. I'll put this one here and just push it down. And let me just put that one there. Okay. All right, so now that, I'm just going to give a spritz. Remove them. And this is going to sit over here and dry a little bit. And now I'm going to do this guy. Now, always check your molds, because sometimes you will get dust in them. So I try to take a look and, you know, get in there and get anything that you might have. Okay, now I'm going to give it a spritz. I just want to get up all in those toes just in case. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do this on the bottom. And let's see if we can make this kind of, maybe we'll make them a pair. They'll be buddies or something. Okay, so now that one, I'm just going to let it sink. I need a pink. Put the pink one in as well. And I just keep, just like I said, don't go crazy. You have to be patient with it, because if you don't, you're going to end up having problems. So now I have those two flowers, And let me see this cute little pink one right here. And the purple one right here. Ooh, come on, jump in. Okay, so now I have that in, and a little bit of greenery. And maybe one of these bad boys. Here, I got one right here. I'm just going to pop that in there. And I'm just placing them in just random places. These are going down. Okay. Now I'm going to just grab this. And see, I like the darker side. So that's the side I'm going to face down. I'm going to break that off like that. And we'll put this along his side. Or her side. I guess it is a girl. She's wearing all this fancy stuff. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. Just going to grab a piece and make sure I have the darker side showing. Just like that. Whoop. And I just want to move them around to get them where I want them. And just push them in. And they may move around a little, so you do have to like keep an eye on them throughout the day or night. I use this as well, and then I can push it all the way down in there good and deep. Okay. Now I'm gonna just there we go. Now I just wanted to, I want to have it where it's got a little bit more clear. So see, I don't know if you can see it, but down here, there the two legs back there. So what I want to do is I want to put a flower there. So I think these would be pretty there. It looked like he was playing in the garden. Ooh, I think wrong side. Yeah, there we go. So there's that one. And this one. Okay, and let's see. I think it needs a little something on the end. Maybe one of these. Come on. Oh, they're tricky. They're slippery little suckers. Come on. Oh my God. You gotta be kidding me. There we go. Okay, put that there. Then I'll give it a little finesse. Okay. That's the little one that I'm looking for. And I just put that one right behind that. Perfect. I want to turn that. Okay, so now these will sit, and then we'll continue tomorrow, and then I'll put the next coating on, which will be like the final coating, and I'll have a cute little set of turtle and frog. Okay, so that's in there good. Everything looks good, nothing shifted. And I just like to go back and like push them down. Sometimes they're floating up ahead, you know, so you have to go in and check that out. And another thing that I didn't mention earlier, but it is really important to make it a point to go ahead. I'm going to try and get these out of here without breaking them. To go ahead and make sure that your table is as level as you can get it. Because if you don't, you're going to end up with high ends, high sides when you pour. And then you end up with like an issue down the line because now you have one side that's higher than the other and, you know, all that good stuff. I just so happen to have another frog. I just realized. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to spray them in there. And I'm going to make a different frog. This one's going to be different. So let's see. Let me find a different pattern. Where did I put them? There. Okay, let's use these. Okay, there's our flowers. Now I'm going to pour this in here. Whoops. Spritz. Spritz. I don't want to puddle. Just give a little ch-ch. And pour here. And I'm going to go all the way up to the legs. Like I ended up pouring more back in the other one. So I'm just going to do that. Now I do have some. So this is when I go like this. And then I pour this right in. And it may not fill it, but it will give me a base in there. And, you know, it depends on what I'm making. Sometimes I may want something to have, you know, just a clear edge at the top and maybe a colored bottom or, you know, something like that. So it just depends on what look I'm going for. And so this is what I'll do. And I'm just going to take my thing over here. And see, all of this is just silicone. And I'm going to pick it up and all of that will peel right off. Now, I have in the past, you know, depending on what I'm working on, I have gone ahead and actually scooped it up and used it. So you can do that as well. It's, you know, there's no reason why you have to waste it. It's just sitting there. So you can do that. And look how fast it filled. So now I have like a container that when I do my little craft fairs, I'll have that. And I can just, these are things that I've been just doing as I, you know, had extra. And then that's it. Okay. Now, even though it's not full, it doesn't matter, because what I'll do is I can, you know, put anything in there to fill, like to add to that. like little pebbles or things like that. Or I can just go ahead and when I have a solid color, just make the very bottom a solid color. There's just so many different things that you can do. And see, you'll just keep on going. Okay, now I'm going to get these in here. Get more paper towel. I go through a lot of paper towels. I buy them by the case. So let's get this in here before it starts to cure, and then I won't be able to get it to work. Okay, so this right in the middle. Perfect. Okay. Oh, daisies. I love me some daisies. Oh, those aren't daisies, but I like them. I'll use them anyway. Oh, it is a daisy. Oh my goodness. There was another flower in front of it. So I'll put that daisy in there. And this. Okay. See how the bubbles are starting to come up? And that's because it's just starting to cure. So I have to move a little bit quicker. And wrong way. And I want to put one up at the front. I kind of like this one. I'm going to push that one up there. And that'll land on its head. So it'll look cute. Wrong one. Just push that down. Make sure it's in there pretty good. And then I'm just going to push the rest down. I think I need a little bit of green though. Oh, perfect. Look how cool. I love that. I'm going to put clover, whoa, on each leg. That will look cute. Let me try and get it without causing a ruckus. Okay, nice. I'm just going to push that down into the leg. And this one too. Oh, let me use this. All right. There we go. One little spot right there that needs some love. Right there. Perfect. Okay. Now I'm just going to let all of these just sit here. The worst thing you can do is start moving things around now. So, you know, you don't want to start to move things so that you end up touching it or whatever. I do suggest you give them another spritz. Same with these. This one too. I'm even spritzing my friend Miss Vivian. All right. And that's all I'm going to be pouring for tonight. I'm going to just show you what I do when I'm going to, you know, clean up a little bit for the night. Actually, I did want to pour these, but I think we'll wait till tomorrow to pour these. And then we'll finish, you know, with the frogs and the turtle. This way they'll be all ready for the second pour for tomorrow. And I'll demold whatever I can demold the following time. But I'm going to create these tomorrow. And I do have a couple other little things that I need to work on. But tomorrow I'm going to work on these. And we're going to work on creating the molds for the chess set. These are the chess pieces. So I did create them. I tried to create them. And of course you can see like I said, like, you know, Yikers. See how when it poured, the top had bubbles in it. So you have to really work it, get it in there. I thought I did, but I evidently didn't. So, and of course, I'm planning on, you know, eventually getting good enough to sell these, and I want them to be, you know, a nice product. So we're going to pour those tomorrow. So I'll meet you back here, and I hope you have a great day. And like I said, the good, the bad, and the yikers. Talk to you soon. Bye.